And we're here on Cool Jazz Weekly with Leonel P. He has a new track out here on Cool Jazz Weekly that we are very excited about playing called So Real. Leonel, welcome to the show.
Hi there, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, Leo. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your musical background and how you got to where you are today.
Well, okay. So again, thanks for having me. Really, from the bottom of my heart, it's nice to get some time to talk about myself. So my solo project just started a few months ago. So after many experience in music, basically, it's a lifelong story. So I try to wrap it up. Basically, I had music around me since I was a little boy. My mom was a pretty good classical guitarist. She was into Paco de Lucia, Segovia, so this kind of stuff. She was studying a lot actually, but she was working in something else. My father came from a family of artists, so like more paintings, sculpture. So I would say that I grew up in an environment with basically arts around me. And I remember myself playing this weird, awful keyboard in the living room, just for fun. Basically, I was just playing by ear. And then I studied a bit of guitar when I was really young, like still 8, 9 years old. And basically, I don't know, I think I took music more and more seriously time by time. When I was 14, 15, I had my first music projects as many little guys, many young guys. And it was fun. It was fun. And the big step up probably was when I was 18, 19, that I had my very first music project that was kind of getting professional, kind of getting important, with these super talented musicians of my city. And we're doing finally something closer to R&B, funk, soul, disco music, writing my own music, but we were really, really young. And basically since then, I've never stopped doing music and trying to make a life out of it.
So real, I guess you could say, is you've been interested in music and loving music all your life. But would you say that So
Yeah.
Real is like your first really big song that you're promoting?
Exactly, yeah. That's my first song as a solo project. So after a long experience around Europe, I lived for a couple of years in London. I studied music in a contemporary music school. And of course, COVID kind of postponed some projects, some stuff for everybody. But finally, I started my own project. I quit my previous job. And in the past 6 months, I'm totally dedicated, fully dedicated to music again. And that's my first single. Then actually a month ago, I had another single out, which is, it's in Italian, so probably it's not that interesting. I like So Real, but that's what I want to do. Mixing English and Italian, and especially trying to put all my music influences with my jazzy vibe, with my soul and all this groove vibe. Also in Italian, I think it would be really nice for since it's my country.
And that's what's really neat about So Real, is because it kind of like encompasses several different feels. I mean, on your write-up, I'm reading it, you kind of identify it as acoustic, chill, jazzy. I mean, so what would you identify yourself as? I mean, a lot of people don't like to pigeonhole themselves into a certain genre, but would you consider yourself a jazz artist, a chill artist, an indie artist, alternative? What do you consider yourself?
It's a nice question.
Yeah.
I would probably say all of them as much as possible into a pop attitude, because I'm trying to reach as much people as possible, which not in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, I wanted to communicate as much as possible my music message. But yeah, my jazzy and my lot of funk actually in some tracks that are coming up are really alive, are really there. So it's something I love. Actually, it's one of the first things I started studying, just improvising in a jazz way, like scatting with my voice, trying to sing what I want to play. So like before singing and then playing, which is a jazz approach, jazz approach to study music, right? To try to sing everything. So there's definitely a lot of jazz stuff, even if I'm not a jazz purist. So I'm not like a big jazz, student.
Right.
That's what I mean.
So who would you say some of your big influences are? I mean, who are some of your favorite artists and who do you look up to?
Um, there's a lot of stuff. I would say definitely some of the big guys of the past and still of the present, like let's say Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson. I loved for many years Sting, and actually his way of putting, I mean, coming from what he was and mixing stuff also in a jazz way, orchestral way, classical. I mean, it's full of incredible stuff. First, for a couple of years, I was really a lot into Esperanza Spalding.
Oh yeah,
which is, she's an amazing, of course you know it, you know her, and I got into her magic when I saw her live here in Italy, and it was the period where I was trying to study as much as possible the jazz stuff. So then also D'Angelo is another new soul, of course, in America. I guess it's pretty famous.
Right.
It's someone that really inspired me a lot. And nowadays, I think there's a really interesting new music wave I'm getting a lot of inspiration from, and I really find myself, I mirror myself in them. Some guys like Tom Misch from UK, from London, or Jordan Rakey. Actually, I think Tom Misch is now touring US actually in these days. So, I mean, there's this new scene that mix well a lot of jazz, but not only jazz, with pop, hip hop, and alternative soul, and interesting sounds like that.
So artists are always, looking to the future, always got plenty of plans and all kinds of different things on the burner that they're working on. What's Leo up to in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Okay, that's another interesting question.
Yeah.
I can tell you that in the next 2 weeks, we have an amazing, good thing happening. I have a collaboration, a featuring coming out with this electronic duo called named Pantarei, and an American singer. Actually, she's an amazing singer that I don't know her personally, but we co-worked all together, me and the Pantarei doing the production, and she put the voice. So you will not hear my voice, but you will hear my guitars and my production and all this stuff. And it's coming out the 8th of April with a French label. It's going to be super interesting. This is not jazzy, definitely. It's way more into the pop environment. Actually, kind of almost disco, kind of, again, some chill.
That's fine, yeah.
Environment there. But it's interesting because finally, as a musician, we all love to collaborate. And the post-COVID, hopefully post-COVID world is, we all need some interactions between music again. So, and this is going to be huge because it's going to be released with a label. So there are a lot of things going on.
That's really cool. So you mentioned COVID, and obviously that kind of hit artists really hard the past couple of years. Do you like performing in public, and has COVID kind of like messed that up a little bit, or how are you coming out of COVID?
Definitely messed it up. I was in London actually till COVID. Yeah. I stayed there for a few more months. Nobody could understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And I decided to come back to Italy. And I was performing a lot. I was actually starting performing on my own, along with my loop station, doing my music background kind of loops, and singing. And also was performing with a lot of artists as a tour kind of musician, like a session musician, as a guitarist or as a backing vocals. So it affected a lot because I kind of quit music, and for a year and a half I was still doing music in my room, but basically I was working because everything was like frozen. Nobody could do it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And now finally I'm gonna restart soon, having my own projects, my own gigs. In the meantime, I'm performing also with other projects, again as a guitarist. So I try to do my best. So I think
that's all you can do.
That's all your best.
Yeah, it's all any of us can do. So Leo, I promise not to take much of your time. So just two final questions. First of all, what's the best way to follow you online? Are you active on social media? And where can we get your music? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I love you guys to check me out. Let's say you can find me on Instagram, on Leonel.P music, on Spotify. I mean, anywhere you check, you just write Leonel P and you will find me. On YouTube, I have my channel with some covers, some vocal harmony stuff going on. I'm gonna post some stuff in the next days. I'm even on Twitter, even if I never use it, so I'll try to do something about it. pretty much everywhere. So we have soon a little website so I can put my tickets for gigs and stuff. Yeah, so
Cool stuff. All right, so final question, Leo. This is my fun question. What words of wisdom or advice would you have for somebody that's kind of like wanting to do what you do, but maybe they're a little bit scared, or COVID, set them back, or maybe their family says, music is too risky of a career. What would your advice be to any of those things?
So guys, young musicians especially, I guess, do what you love first. Try to study what you love. Like,
Yeah.
when you love something, you learn way faster, basically. Do not compare yourself too much to other musicians. What I can tell you is find your own sound, which takes a long time. I guess it's for any guys doing music, writing books, or find your own voice. It's the most important thing. Learn by imitating because it's important, but don't fall into the thing of the trap of imitating too much, I guess. And most of all, nowadays in 2022, make yourself by yourself, like everything you need to make your own music alone. So use Logic, use Ableton, because nowadays it's really important. It's kind of it's a lot to ask to a musician. You have to learn, study, do your gigs, and also try to learn how to be a decent producer. But it's important so you can express your ideas and translate it into music for real.